Hi, everybody. My name is Thomas Kalb, and I am director of the Center for Midstream Management and Science at Lamar University in Beaumont, Texas. I'm here today to present Energy Prism #1, focusing on cybersecurity. Let's first talk about the Colonial Pipeline attack of last year. On May 7th, 2021, Colonial Pipeline suffered a ransomware attack. Colonial delivered gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel from Texas all along the eastern seaboard. It was the largest attack on oil infrastructure in US history. Only Colonial's billing system was compromised, not operational systems. However, compromise of the billing system yielded a loss of confidence in everything, and it was all shut down. Fuel shortages across 13 states and lost revenue to the entire value chain took place. Reportedly, Colonial paid $4.4 million in Bitcoin with the assistance of the FBI. I mention with the assistance of the FBI because this fact troubles me. I am not sure if it should, but it does, and so I mention it. Events like this drive government action and regulatory mandates, and often unintended consequences. It is always best for industry to get ahead of issues and manage them before government is forced to take action. A little on cyber background. US midstream is comprised of thousands of companies and millions of miles of pipelines. Operational technology, or OT, controls equipment, while information technology, or IT, controls data for decision-making. Companies rely on the integration of information communication technologies, or ICS, into OT and IT to drive data analytics, automation, and remote operation. ICS includes systems that manage industrial processes, for example, SCADA systems. Criminals only need to achieve loss of confidence in the weakest link, for example, a relatively unarmored billing system to bring everything to a halt. So how does a company protect every access point? Well, you can't protect every access point perfectly, but risk can be substantially mitigated. Corporations, especially larger, well-capitalized corporations, tend to do a pretty good job at this. Smaller companies, less capitalized companies, not so much. However, it is employees or individuals that are the weakest link in this discussion, and that is the focus really of today's discussion. This map of the United States shows our pipes. We are the most piped country in the world. It is all operated by OT, IT, and cloud and that other stuff. If OT, IT, and cloud, et cetera, aren't working properly, all of this pipeline infrastructure has the value of a bag of rocks. So what do we need to do as a society to protect ourselves? Well, we need a paradigm shift. There have been other paradigm shifts that are well known. Two of my favorites from the good old days are ciggies and seatbelts. In the good old days, I remember watching the Beverly Hillbillies on a couch with my mother while she puffed away on Pall Malls. I also remember riding in cars with my parents and their friends, sitting in a blue haze of smoke. I also remember in the early 80s being on an elevator, cheek to jowl with my fellow workers when some guy decided to light up a cigarette because he couldn't wait 30 seconds. These things aren't allowed anymore. There's been a paradigm shift away from ciggies, secondhand smoke, and it was a great thing. Most of us who are a little bit older remember the bad old days and the good old days. There's been a paradigm shift here. It was societal and it was worthy. More good old days, no seatbelts. That red station wagon on the right looks just like one my parents drove us around in the early 60s. We loved that thing. On the left, it reminds me that we would fight tooth and nail as little kids can to get in that jumper seat in the back so we could hang out the window, smile and laugh and wave at people and throw stuff in the road. It was a great time. Today, however, It's not allowed. There's been a paradigm shift away from no seatbelts. Today, these cars would be pulled over by the police, people ticketed, and probably social services would show up to take the kids away. It's not allowed. There's been a very worthwhile paradigm shift. These paradigm shifts for seatbelts and ciggies took about a generation or two to take place, to really get settled. So what is a paradigm shift? Well, Webster's defines paradigm shift as a noun and a fundamental change in approach or underlying assumptions. Examples: smoking around kids was okay. Now smoking around kids is really bad. Wearing no seatbelts was okay. Now no seatbelts is really bad. A paradigm shift is needed insofar as cybersecurity is concerned. For corporations, cybersecurity being viewed as an expense needs to mutate into cybersecurity is a high return investment. Yes, a high return investment. For employees or individuals, cybersecurity is an annoyance, must mutate into cybersecurity is a home and hearth issue. Yes, home and hearth issue. It's important to our well-being as individuals, to our families, to our community, to our country, to our companies, employers, to our nation. It is a home and hearth issue as much as anything can be. Paradigm shifts are a big deal. They're rare. They take a long time, usually a generation or two, to get fixed, and they're hard to do. It's hard to get an entire society to wrap their heads around something and adopt it. When a paradigm shift happens quickly, it's usually due to some calamitous event like Pearl Harbor or 9/11. Again, paradigm shifts are big deal, take a lot of time, they're hard to do. Cyber protocols must achieve personal relevance. We have to come to recognize that it is important to us. It is a home and hearth issue. Otherwise, we will never pay attention. We'll just view these things as blocks to us doing and getting what we want, to finishing our job, whatever, what have you. The real problem: we have met the enemy and he is us. Thank you, Pogo. It's the absolute truth. And so how do we deal with that? A societal paradigm shift. Cyber attacks cost a lot of money. It's not really mentioned that much in the news. When a Colonial Pipeline was attacked, it made the news because millions and millions of people didn't get fuel. It was obvious. It was obvious news. Most companies and most people, when they have a cyber attack, don't tell anybody about it. So it's not really recognized, or people really don't feel or understand just how much money it costs society. It causes companies to close. It can ruin people. At least it causes companies unexpected expenses, which reduce the money available to pay people, to hire more people, to expand, to do the things companies need to do in order to have a successful society. And if companies are hammered by cyber thieves, people are going to lose jobs. Companies are going to close. It is a home and hearth issue to all of us, and we have to bring it home and recognize that. It is a home and hearth issue. It is worthy of a societal paradigm shift. The truth is that when it comes to security, security is a personal responsibility. Nobody can do it for you. You have to do it, or you are the weak link. So, cyber defense flows from knowledge, discipline, and investment. Some corporate system ideas. Pursue best-in-class practices. Design for your company. All companies are different with different strengths and weaknesses. Design for your company. And budget for implementation. It is not an expense. It is a high return investment. Implement third-party penetration attacks on your cyber systems. Yes, attack yourself. Learn your weaknesses from your friends so you don't have to learn your weaknesses from the criminals. Stay current on cybersecurity events and developments. This part seems annoying, conferences and meetings and whatnot. However, this whole cybersecurity business is a game of whack-a-mole. Things change and pop up differently constantly. You have to stay on your toes. you have to stay current. Now, this next bullet point will cause a lot of pushback in some companies. Separate cybersecurity team from IT team. They have different mindsets, different responsibilities. Separate cybersecurity team from IT team. I put it like this. The cybersecurity team can be likened to a Marine rifle company. And the IT team can be likened to an NFL professional football team like the Dallas Cowboys. Both are very good at what they do, but they have different mindsets and different responsibilities. That fact needs to be recognized in attacking this problem. Finally, executive leadership is critical. If the boss doesn't care, nobody cares. Now, some employee ideas. Require regular employee training and testing with passing required for continued employment. Yes, if you can't pay attention and pass the testing, you can't work here. You have to get out of my building. This has to be important to the employees. Highlight cyber events and impact on companies and employees. If people don't see the threat in society around them, they really won't believe it's there. Implement phishing attacks on employees, trained by fire, followed by remedial training, and must pass testing. Again, you can't pass the testing, you cannot work here. You're on the team or you're not on the team. Finally, again, executive leadership is critical. If the boss doesn't care, nobody cares, or stated differently, a fish rots from the head or it doesn't. Now, corporate and political leadership ideas might include a cyber czar. 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue can appoint a cyber czar to bring together government industry to challenge this. I think that government's trying to do this now, but a cyber czar might have the political pizzazz to make it happen. Public-private partnership. Companies need to get together, work with government to achieve a paradigm shift on cybersecurity for all Americans. Before we wrap up, I'd like to give you an anecdotal story, a true story, I'm told, but anecdotal. The CEO of a bank holding company visited the CEO of a cybersecurity company. The bank holding company guy was very proud of the cybersecurity work his company had done, and he wanted it to be challenged and tested. He thought it would take months and cost a lot of money. The security company CEO said, "Nah, we'd probably test you and give you an answer or appraisal by dinner time tomorrow." The bank holding company CEO said, "Okay, have at it." Well, the next morning before the bank branch opened, a cybersecurity company guy walked through the parking lot with a pocket full of thumb drives. He dropped them, sprinkled them around as he walked through the parking lot. A little while later, when employees arrived, some of them picked up those thumb drives. They walked into the bank building, got their coffee, turned their computers on, and plugged in the thumb drives to see what was on them. Yes, we have met the enemy and he is us. Well, that's all for today on Energy Prism #1, focusing on cybersecurity. My name is Thomas Kalb. I'm director of the Center for Midstream Management and Science at Lamar University in Beaumont, Texas. Thank you for your time.